Right now we're just at Green Cuisine. I'm having lunch with Carson Al, and yeah, it's great. Thanks so much for the opportunity. The Animal Protection Party started in Toronto, Ontario. Liz White was the party leader, and it came together as an amalgamation originally of two organizations, which it was originally called the Animal Alliance Environment Voters Party of Canada, and now it's called the Animal Protection Party of Canada, to keep things very simple. Liz started the party by herself as was the first candidate to run, and ran for the first couple elections by herself, and then over time the number of people running for us has expanded greatly. I think we had about 10 people running in the last election, and we're hoping to see that grow substantially in the 2019 federal election. So the party is a registered federal party, so it does operate at the federal level. However, I have run provincially, and I'm about to run for the Victoria City Council as an independent, but I certainly carry the party's values with me. And so we may have candidates in various ridings that run for different levels of government and do carry those values with them, but at the end of the day, we are a registered federal party. I think it's essential that we have a political party for the animals in Canada. It offers a completely different perspective that otherwise would not even be talked about in politics. So when I go to a debate, I'm able to talk about the effect of animal agriculture on climate change. I'm able to talk about the negative health consequences of the consumption of animals on our health as individuals and as a society. I'm able to talk about the way that the subsidies to the animal agriculture industries hinder our economy and are actually more than that which are provided to the oil and gas industry. So, you know, if there weren't people in these public forums talking about animals and politics, then these conversations would never take place. And this is really why it is a revolution of mind in so many ways, is because every debate that I go to, people are hearing something that they've never heard before. And that's the same for everywhere that a candidate for the party runs, is that we're bringing that representation for animals to the public in forms that otherwise would be devoid of any conversation on the welfare of animals, the protection of animals, and the liberation of animals in our country. You know, it's really interesting talking to people about animal rights, especially in politics. Politicians will always say that they love animals because they know that they could never say that they don't love animals and have the public tolerate that, I think, to any significant degree. It was just like when I asked Justin Trudeau recently about what he was going to do to protect animals in Canada. And he said, well, of course we want to protect animals. Of course we don't want animals to be abused in our communities. And yet, if you look at what he's done, he's actually hindered policy that would improve protections for animals in our country. And so we always have, that's sort of the essential piece of being a politician or a representative for the animals in this kind of an instance, is that you get to hold politicians accountable for what they say, and the difference between that and what they're actually doing as politicians with the power that they have. People want animals to be protected in their communities. Now, they don't always understand what the consequences of that are for the choices they make in their day-to-day lives and how that might affect their consumptive practices of animals. But it is very important that we are having these conversations, because if we're not having them, then nothing's going to change. It can't always be us on the outside of politics banging our heads on the gates trying to get in. We need to be on the inside trying to influence the change makers themselves and perhaps be them ourselves one day. When we talk about single issue campaigns versus just pure vegan campaigns, I guess an abolitionist point of view, I definitely disagree that we should move away from single-issue campaigns. You know, some people are just extremely passionate about a particular issue, and they dedicate themselves to that. They become extremely knowledgeable on that issue, and then they're extremely successful. And you can see the results of that through many campaigns that have taken place. Recently we have, in Vancouver, the Vancouver Aquarium is a single-issue campaign. It's about, freeing cetaceans from captivity in this really inhumane environment. So why is that something that we should just go there and talk about veganism about? Well, it's going to confuse the issue for so many people. It is really important that we have single-issue campaigns. Even the trophy hunting of grizzly bears, was one as a single-issue campaign to a large degree. Now, I'm not saying that doesn't mean grizzly bears aren't going to be killed anymore, the way that the current legislation stands. However, it's been a tremendous success in a lot of ways, and it raised so much awareness with the public. I think the single-issue campaigns allow us kind of the planting of seeds in people's minds that the way that we're treating animals in our society is wrong, and that we can do so much more. And so maybe it's cetaceans, maybe it's horse carriages, maybe it's trophy hunting, maybe it's farm animals, whatever it is. All these different things are connected. They're connected by a systemic sort of view of animals as lesser than us, systemic oppression of animals, systemic violence against animals. And so when you deal with one, it does make people reflect on how we do it to other animals as well. And that's why there's nothing wrong with that. Also, some people, again, just have a passion for a particular project, and there's nothing wrong with somebody chasing that passion. And in fact, I think we should encourage and empower people to follow their passion and be creative and playful with that. If we say no, you can only do it one way, if there's only one right way to go about doing activism or being an activist, then we're really stifling the potential for us as individuals and as organizations trying to help animals to be effective. And at the end of the day, that's all that really matters, is are we helping animals, or are we just really focusing on our own ideology and letting that cloud our better judgment. If I could change one thing about our political system today, I think it would be our electoral system, and to see a shift towards proportional representation. In many countries all over the world, they have animal protection parties who have gained seats to their parliament because of the opportunities provided to them by proportional representation. And without that, it's very difficult for any smaller parties to really get a foothold or have a strong presence in politics. And I think that would have the biggest impact for the animals of anything that we could do right now in politics, because I almost guarantee it, that it would put representatives for animals in Parliament, and it would have a tremendous effect in terms of being able to influence other politicians and other parties to work with animal protection focused politics in that sort of political sphere, and I think it would make a substantial difference for them. Trudeau promised to, review the electoral system, and a committee on electoral reform was started, and their recommendation was to move towards a proportional representation system. And unfortunately, Mr. Trudeau decided that Canadians didn't really have an interest in changing the electoral system, so he backed away after all this time, resources, and attention had been given to this issue. And it's probably one of the things that maybe has set this country back recently by this current administration in terms of the potential to move forward with a more democratic and representative political system. Of course, that may or may not be the sum of it, though. In British Columbia, of course, this year we're going to have a referendum on proportional representation as well, and so it's a great opportunity, and I encourage everyone to go out and vote in favor of a new electoral system in BC, which would have a huge influence on the rest of Canada if we were able to get it passed.
Great. Is this a place to be in Victoria for vegan?
Yeah, you know, it's been here for over 25 years. It's kind of a staple of the community. Of course, we've got some new great places.
What's your favorite? You have to name one.
Well, you know, if I had to name a place, it would be the Very Good Butchers, just because, I mean, sometimes I just want a vegan burger and poutine, and it's delicious. I love green cuisine. The vegan hippie chick is awesome. You got Bliss Cafe. There's a bunch of great places. You know, now we got Amanda J as well, which is a clothing apparel store that's all vegan as well. So it continues to grow. You know, we're getting out there. Yeah.
Thanks so much for.
Thanks, Carson.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thanks a lot.